I was talking to a friend last night who, knowing that I'm a political person, asked me, what happened to George Santos? I heard so much about George Santos and all of a sudden I haven't been. Did he get kicked out? Is he going to be kicked out? What's going on there? And I had to respond that he is still just doing his thing for some reason in the House of Representatives. The reason being Republicans really need every vote in their very narrow majority. And despite his federal indictment on multiple counts in relation to money laundering, theft of public funds, making materially false statements to the U.S. House of Representatives, and the fact that he scammed his voters into that position of authority by lying about nearly every aspect of who he was, his heritage, his work history, his education history, his involvement or his knowing of people who were victims of certain tragedies when he actually didn't, and all these different things that have been exposed about him. Despite that, he's still just doing his thing as a Republican congressman in the U.S. House of Representatives. And so I went to see kind of what's been up with George Santos and came across this interview that took place last night with Erin Burnett. And she just poses factual information to him. And he, in the most aggravating way possible, what's the word? Lies. That's the word. He stares facts in its face and says, you don't exist. And it's such a bizarre exchange. And I want you to keep in mind while we watch this that he is lying. He's going to act very confidently and be so rude to Erin Burnett. He's the one lying. Okay. And it's in relation to, the question is about Brazilian authorities charging George Santos with defrauding a clerk out of $1,300 by using a fake name and a stolen checkbook to buy goods in 2008. He resolved that case, reportedly, by reimbursing the clerk for the amount he had defrauded them out of, and then also admitting he had done it. That's how he resolved it. All right. And so then Erin Burnett, with that in mind, asks, are you going to try to strike some deal with federal authorities in relation to your federal indictment? And he denies the facts of how he resolved that case in Brazil. It's very strange. Take a look.
So you do, when I looked at what you have done before, you did make a deal with prosecutors in Brazil when they charged you with fraud, and you avoided prosecution in that deal. You did so by confessing and paying retribution to the victim. So would you do something like that again?
Like I said, I don't know where you're getting your information from, but I would challenge you to bring up receipts on that, because that's not how it happened in Brazil.
All right. The bottom line question is, would you?
So you're not prepared. So hold on. So you're not prepared. You made a statement, an
are you going
accusatory
to say that you
statement on
did not
national
make a deal with
television.
prosecutors? No, I'm not. Did you make a deal with prosecutors in Brazil, or did you not?
Well, I just told you no, but you're not prepared. So you brought me on air on national television trying to read me
you
the
can
riot
come on
act,
and say that
but
that's
you're
false.
unprepared.
That's your right to say that it's false. That's
I'd
your
love
right to
to
say
see
that
you
it's
put
false.
receipts on the screen
Our
so the American
reporting
people
is
can
that
see it.
you confessed and paid retribution to the victim. That's all I can say, is that's our reporting. So I want to follow up on the Brazil point, since you said that we hadn't done our homework. Documents obtained by CNN showed prosecutors in Brazil agreed to a deal with you in a case in which you were accused of defrauding a Rio de Janeiro area clerk of $1,300 of clothes and shoes in 2008. The victim says you appeared on video. So do you have any response to that?
No, I'm not engaging on this because, again, if you can't prove to the American people you're out.
If your graphics team doesn't have a graphic ready to put up on screen, then you don't have your facts straight.
Allegations, then I'm not going to entertain it. Please, you guys need to be better prepared next time.
I will stand by our reporting, and I want to be very clear about that.
So absolutely no remorse for his past lies, because now he's lying in the present just as blatantly. George, talk to your own lawyer. That's where some of this information came from. U.S. Representative George Santos has signed a deal with Brazilian authorities to avoid prosecution in lieu of a confession, reimbursement for the victim, and a fine to the state stemming from a 2008 fraud case. His attorney said, which I guess the next step would be George Santos just saying, yeah, CNN, you made that up. The attorney didn't actually say that. Quote, from now on, he's not answering to any lawsuits in Brazil, Santos's lawyer said, and then walks through what was found out by obtaining these documents on the part of CNN out of Brazil. So it's definitely true. That's how he avoided prosecution in Brazil based on that fraud case. And why he would deny that fact, I really don't know. It's at least appears to be uncontrollable. He just needs to, for the sake of staying alive, just the way he gets energy for his body to metabolize is lying at least 10 times a day. That's his version of food, is just lying. And then that feeds his body somehow. It's stunning because in part the reason that Erin Burnett didn't have a graphic ready that would show whatever to prove what she's saying is because she wasn't even thinking he was going to deny that, obviously. She was just curious, are you going to strike a similar deal when it comes to your United States federal indictment? Again, money laundering and some other things. That was the question. The premise, she didn't even know that was going to be debatable. But then he says that it was. And time and time again, we see this. We watch this clip I'm going to show in the past, but just uncontrollable lies, which again shows he learned nothing from being exposed for his past ones.
Office.
I didn't run, my resume wasn't posted on my social media. It wasn't posted on my website. Look, those are insecurities, like you just said. A lot of people have those insecurities. Actually, studies point that most people lie on their resumes. It's just, unfortunately, it's the reality.
Yeah, but you lied about everything.
Well, not true, right?
You lied about your mom.
No, not true either, but I never said my mother died on 9/11. I never said that. That was never said. All that people like to say is, oh, you killed your mother twice. That's not true. I mean, my mother was my best friend. She was when I lost my mother, it was the hardest thing for me in my life. And it's really painful when you see people trying to say, oh, you killed your mother twice. No, I didn't, right?
Of course. But you did say that she escaped out of the South Tower during 9/11.
My mother was in downtown Manhattan in the South Tower the day of 9/11, made it out. That is fact.
I honestly don't even know how to process clips like that when we watch them because I see another human being and so then I apply onto him my own thought process, my own kind of morals, and hear his sincere tone of voice and think you couldn't possibly say stuff like that about your mother and be lying. But as we've gone through and shown the receipts time and time again in the past, on Twitter he said 9/11 claimed his mother's life, and then way later said 5 years ago she passed away, didn't line up there, and then said that she survived 9/11, but then records show she wasn't even in the country on 9/11. So I don't even, again, it just is hard to process. But if you were curious, what has George Santos been up to? There we go. Still doing his lying things. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show and get a bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. And there's a link in the description.